Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo! All right, a big welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Observation Lounge, the only and the best. It will be the best forever, because it's the only one. It's the first one. Star Trek Fleet Command Podcast. Got a special guest today. I wanted to bring in someone that's different than what a lot of the base is, and it's okay, don't worry. We've got a whale on board, but he's a really cool whale. His name's Rance. He's a good guy. First, before we get into that, though, I want to talk about the event, the Fractured Empire coming out. So Active War 2 is essentially what it is, a separate event. Day one definitely started off a little bit rough. There were some things I was expecting that didn't come through. And I had to sit down with Panic. There's no other way to put it. And it wasn't like an angry sit down, hey, Panic, you lied to me, everything's crap. Because I do think, and I stand by this in my video, that the reward payouts by themselves, like in terms of uncommon, rare, tokens, are great. And whether you're a low level or a high level, I mean, I've been watching level 14s progress it. I've watched level 26s. Payouts, if you can complete the event, were really good. The question was it worth it, especially for like mid-level 20s to grind into it like myself? Because I was getting stuck. I couldn't progress to like the solo event because I would run out of Tritanium. You and I did the buddy system, and this is the guy that did the buddy system with me, for those who have watched that video. And that's the only way I was able to complete my solo, because it cost so much Tritanium to grind. Well, now that working with Panic this morning, and they worked with the dev team to increase the Tritanium rewards, now I went from the solo event starting at 500,000 Tritanium, and I ended it at 3 million. That is a much more doable thing. So I just want to put that out there for everybody listening to the show to know you do get heard. If you submit a complaint and it's legitimate, I am going to push for it. Panic's going to push for it to try to make the game better. I know there's this idea out there, there's a paradigm among a lot of players that the devs don't care and they want the game to just basically die. I'm telling you, as a businessman, they want the game to be amazing because that means you're going to spend money. So they want to hear your complaints, especially if you can bring them in a cordial manner, and then we can bring them to say, hey, please fix these problems. And there's other things that we're working on. I want to see the D3 Mayflower Legionary have a free-to-play shard option. That's something else I'm pushing for, as well as basic economy fixes. But I want to give you guys an update on that, as this will drop Saturday morning, day 3 of that event. And if you do, once again, have things that you want to see progress, anything that I can, I'm going to continue to bring forth to them. They do want to hear your ideas. And without further ado, got to welcome a friend here, Rance, and hey, welcome. Thanks for having the time, man. Out of your busy Star Trek Fleet Command schedule, you live on the game like I do. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Rev. I've appreciated your videos and your take on the game since we started talking a couple months ago, so it's good to be here.
So for you, and like I said at the beginning, and I make this very clear. I don't care how people spend their money. I don't, because some people spending $100 on the game is incredibly insane to them. They just can't fathom spending that much on the game. Other people, like yourself, see it as like an entertainment budget. Instead of going out to the movies, well, you drop $100 on the pack. So for you coming in, and little backstory on you, you're level 31 now. Your best ships are like 1 million compared to mine.
No. We have people on the server with 1 million. I'm only half that. I don't need them running around.
You're strong enough to go around one-shotting bases with an Antares. That to me is insanely strong. So for you, but you've also expressed to me as well that you spent money on the game, and I think there's this idea among a lot of lower levels, especially, that the people who are paying the game are just enjoying everything about it, and that's one of the reasons why we're not having fixes. So for you, I always want you to hit me with some of the things that have made you disgruntled, things that have made you want to quit the game, and also some of the reasons why you're sticking around.
Yeah, well, I can understand that from somebody who's playing, free to play, that somebody who's kind of bought their way to the top would just be enjoying all the fruits of everything. But, some of the frustrations that myself and others who are similar positions as me have expressed is, officers, right? When you get close to maxing out all of your officers, or, they're all tier 3 to tier 5, or with the base core that you can buy in the officer packs, then the officer packs lose value for you. So I've got 8,300 Ultra Recruit tokens just sitting waiting to be spent because there's no reason for me to spend them at the moment. I mean, the drop rate on the epics, which mine are tier 3 right now.
For those listening, the epics are the purple ones.
Yeah, sorry.
Just that they don't know.
Yeah, the purple, the Spock, Gorkin, Nero, Cross, those guys, the drop rates on them aren't fantastic. So you'll get 3 or 4 a pack, right? If you do the five chests, which is fine, but it's not enough to make you want to go spend $100 on an officer pack. So you buy officer packs because you have to buy faction points to be able to upgrade officers or to be able to buy some of these faction ships. But then there's no point in redeeming them because there's no there's no new officers. So while they have added officers to the game, and that's fantastic, and we're all very excited about the augment event that occurred. We thought it maybe went along a little too long, but it was the idea of it was great.
Yeah.
These different events like the active war events are fun, but the base level content with the officers is just one thing that if they could add more officers to those packs, like for instance after an event is over with like the shakedown cruise or the auxiliary or the whatever, then if they could, after a couple weeks of that event being over, maybe they rotate those officers into the packs so that you can keep expanding and leveling and get some of those officers or have access to those officers.
Well, a good example of that officer, and not to just kick you out here, but especially for lower levels that participated in not the augment event, but remember that Section 31 event we had right before?
Oh yeah, with Harrison and
yeah. So Harrison obviously being the big thing
guys
there, but lower levels like myself, because I think I was around 20 at the time, were able to get another officer called Zhao. Zhao's interesting because he actually works with a morale setup, but here's the bad part of that is, even though his morale seems interesting, so his ability is as long as the ship has morale, he increases shield deflection, armor, and dodge by 30% of crew defense.
Oh, right.
But if you can never level him up past tier 1, like mine's max at tier 1 at 198 strength, I'm never going to put that on a morale crew. And maybe by the time he actually rolls back around, I've moved so far ahead, there's no point in me even having that officer to begin with. So even though I've said this a lot, I have pushed for more content in the form of officers for months, and I've gotten my wish. But now we need to have a way that we can access a lot of these cards more often and make them easier to continue to tier up, because you get some of these special ones that either you get them and they become instantly worthless, like Zhao. I mean, I guess he's cool to have, but I mean, if you're into collecting them like Pokemon, or you get these really, really nice officers that come out, like Carol Marcus is a brand new officer. She's fantastic. It would take me 9 months through just loyalty chests to eventually get her. And 9 months from now, maybe I am level 30 like you, and maybe her ability is not as good as somebody else that comes out. So there has to be some way that they redo some of these things in the game that allow us to pour into officers while also keeping things balanced, because you also have things like Harrison, who's still OP right now. If nobody's experienced Harrison yet, don't worry, you're not missing anything except a lot of builds.
If you're on my server, find my Saladin, Berenger Saladin, or Mortal Saladin, or Sander Kingsley Saladin. We'll show you how Harrison works.
Put it this way, everybody's been enjoying my brand new D3 and Kamari and how shiny and pretty they are. So Kamari, 250k, D3, 300k. North Star 165. My level 26 base has maxed out turrets, plus that fourth one at level 1. Behringer came by with his Sally and one-shot all of it and cost me 200k try and one hit. And thanks to Harrison and the crew setup, he had a 900,000 critical hit in round 1. So that's what you're currently missing. Don't look forward to it. It's not fun to have those come by and one-shot you. But even then, though, Harrison definitely is something that, if he's there, people need more access to him.
Absolutely. I mean, and luckily for probably everybody else on the server, most of us only have them at tier 1 or tier 2.
Yeah. I can't imagine 100% shield negation with Harrison. Just don't even fight him. Just take the resources. Take them.
But in the game, officers are the one investment in the game that scale with you for the most part.
I'll take it a step further, though, because even though Scopely and this partnership that I've had have turned into me getting things like D3, my mentality is still more from a free-to-play player perspective. And I can say one thing that is a great equalizer in this game are officers. There's no way you can pay to having a better officer setup. You might be able to tier it up faster. But I can have the morale set up and you can have the morale set up and they operate the exact same. It's the great equalizer in this game.
Well, and before you started doing videos showing people how to crew their ships, I was able to go up against people 5-6 levels higher than me and wipe the floor with them because my officer setups were better than theirs.
Yeah.
And so the officers are really, like you said, the great equalizer, but also the only thing that truly scales as you level up. Everything else, ships, I mean, until you get to the end level faction ships, right? Everything else you replace. So Tala is great until you're level 22, and then 24 you get the Kumari, and that's great until you get a Legionary or a D3 or a Bortus or something along those lines. So all of those ships end up getting replaced, but your officers stay the same. And so to me, officers are one aspect of the game that, for me, I've always been focusing on ever since some early people told me to focus on officers, and taught me about it, and that's what I always tell people as well.
I mean, I'd really go. That's really kind of how my brand started, was officer trainings and working with people like you and Behringer, who are higher level than me, to learn some of the higher, setups. And I'll say this, I mean, and to my point though, there are level 14s who maybe have bought a North Star or a Jellyfish, who have also been able to roll that rare, and I'm so jealous. You seen the rares where they'll roll a 100 shard roll and they'll get the entire officer in one pop?
I might have done that 3 times with Nero.
All right, so you'll have people at level 16 now because they invest in officers that have complete morale setups that are so overpowered compared to their peers because of officers. And like I said, that's the great equalizer. Knowing officers in this game takes you to another level. And that's just something that goes on to our next point I want to talk about, is the economy of the game needs more of a restructure / balance. Whether it's Tritanium mining needs to be, I believe, magnified by like a power of 5, the ability to bring in 5 times more Tritanium than you currently can. Or even when it comes to officers and buying officers and getting credits for them, there needs to be more of a balance put into the game's economy.
Yeah, I mean, from right now, I have a Bones McCoy, the rare officer for the morale set, right? Mm-hmm. He's tier 4. To take him to tier 5, it takes 11,000 Federation faction credits. I could buy them at a rate of, it would take me 3 packs to buy them. Or if I try to do dailies as a free-to-play player, it would take me, I think we said 49 days if I did every daily. And I did all the new faction daily thing that they did, which is great, by the way. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Scopely for that one. It's great. But if I do that faction daily thing plus all my regular dailies, it would take me 49 days to be able to upgrade that one officer 1 level. For Tret, if the mines were 1 million or 2 million, and you could mine it and without having to constantly change it over and over and over and over, that would be fantastic.
To me, it's the rate. I honestly don't mind the size of nodes, because
the rate.
They get bigger as you go through. But like for me, I'm finally getting into you big guys' range of ship repairs. I'm going to talk about ship repairs. So my D3, which compared to y'all is still a baby D3, 300,000 tier 5, is 75,000 Tritanium alone to repair. Well, it would take me, because my best Envoy setup for mining Tritanium brings in 8,500 an hour. So it would take me 9 hours to be able to repair my ship 1 time, just from Tritanium mining alone. And I realize that at lower levels, it can be kind of crazy if they're just running around with 300 million Tritanium because they do nothing but mining all day. But as you progress in the game, every server complains about the same thing. Every server is broke. And the people who have resources have learned to shield finally. So even for a pirate like myself, it's a lot harder to go through and find a whale. The last big raid I had that was tens of millions is the video I posted like 3 weeks ago where I raided 30 million from a rogue base. I have not hit a base that size since.
Yeah, the shield discipline on our server has gotten particularly good.
Yeah,
it has. The last few months.
Annoying,
which is very disappointing for those of us who like to raid others. And you're right. For me, even with my best miners, to mine, if I was to try to mine the Trit and the Dill that I spent on the event, right, the event going right now.
How much have you spent, by the way? Just tell people how much you spent probably so far in each resource.
I think I've spent 10 million Dill since the event started. I don't know Trit. I wasn't keeping track.
Let's just go ahead and times that by 3 then.
Yeah, probably.
To be safe.
Probably. Yeah, so probably 30 million Trit. That sounds about right. 10 million Dill. Because I did try the first day. I tried to go climb the leaderboard for the solo event, and I got to 7th, which was great, and the rewards for that are fantastic. But it doesn't doesn't negate the cost.
Yeah.
I mean, the 75 rare gas I got, or not rare, uncommon gas I got, that was great, and it'll go a long way towards helping me upgrade my ship. So that was a nice number. But the Trit and the Dill are gone. Like, that's a sunk cost.
Yeah.
And
and that's one of the reasons I pushed for better rewards
I guess,
today, because, and I told you this, people are not going to participate in the event if they can't afford to start it. And even though dilithium is incredibly important, arguably more important, the true hangnail is if you don't have any Trit, you're not going out to fight. You're just not. Whether it's a hostile or a player, you can people are more willing to spend Latinum on stuff like Dilly because you just don't need as much. Whereas if you don't have Trit, you're done.
I need a fair amount.
Yeah. Well, you're level 31. You don't count. We're going back to free-to-play levels right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Remember, most of the game is more like me, less like you, Ranson. But truthfully, you got to have a better payout for that.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny because we were trying to protect one of our members from being raided earlier tonight. And this guy from another alliance who's based nearby kept trying to sneak in ships to raid him while we were trying to protect him, and eventually I just popped his whole base with 2 ships docked, and cracked, almost cracked it. I think I almost cracked it, but I noticed he only had 25k dill left, and I'm like, well, you're done, right? Like, you're not going to really seriously try to fight me with 25k dill because you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But
yet
dill's important.
He kept coming.
No, he stopped after
he finally
learned his lesson the first time. There's the other guy. It was the other guy at the same planet that was trying to do stuff that I cracked his base 5 times while he was online. He was the one that just didn't seem to want to catch the lesson.
Well, I mean, and like I said, that's why I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, is I push for better rewards, and I have to give credit for them to answer that call, because for me to have that conversation this morning, and I started that conversation. Let me look at my Discord. So, and I'm only saying this because I want to continue to push to the players out there that the devs do care. And I hate that there's a thought that they don't.
Well,
so I just want to say I started that conversation with Panic at 9 a.m. this morning, my time. Everything resets at 11 a.m. By 11 a.m. the event time, the new Tritanium rewards had rolled out. So in that span, they reviewed their notes, they reviewed their logs, because their logs tell them how many people complete the events, how many people participated. So they have an idea of if it's easy or not. And then they rolled out that change quickly after so many people had complained and people like myself had pushed that forward. So I definitely want to get across that they care. We just have to be careful with how we vocalize that, because if we just become angry pitchfork fire mob, nobody's going to listen to that. I know it's the internet and we feel
angry. Elf.
Yeah. We feel like anonymity gives us a little bit of that extra bravado, but if you're the angry keyboard warrior, nobody wants to listen to you. But if you push forth in a logical manner, to use the spot method there, things can change. And that's kind of what I want to do with my channel and content, is to push for change for the better.
Well, I think most of us who've been playing the game since early on, so I started playing the game like the weekend of Thanksgiving, give or take. And I think most of us who have played the game have noticed a lot of positive changes. And so we are grateful to Scopely for some of the efforts they've made. The adding of content, the kind of the changing of the refinery rates, they've added more nodes, they've added some extra PvE content, which, the PvE content to me is, base rating and PvP, and that's all fantastic stuff. But it's hard. It's still a Star Trek game, right? And most of us who are Star Trek fans play for the PvE content. The PvP content's a nice bonus. And so, but they have added stuff, and it's been exciting to see that. And so I do think most of us believe that at a certain level they'd listen. Obviously, we don't know what their limitations are by how they can roll things out, or what their server architecture is like, or all the kind of technicals behind the scenes stuff that we don't have access to. But we do appreciate the efforts they've made, I think. And I know there's a few of us.
And a rebuttal too, because I also don't want, and I've tried to repeat this a lot, I'm not here to blow smoke up Scopely either. There are definitely some things that I've griped about, you've griped about, that have still yet to be addressed. I mean, we talked about officers just now. You and I both agree we love new officers and content. there are still the same broken officers that I've been complaining about for months have yet to be addressed. So there's some things that still need to be talked about and continue to push until they get fixed, because some of these things are game breaking. Like, there are officers that say they're going to give you bonus experience for killing hostiles. That don't work. You don't get a bonus.
Yeah.
Well, and for early players, that's huge.
Well, and while they added mines, they're still not enough, right? I mean, if you
agree.
have, you said you were what, 470 in power? Is that what you said you were earlier?
Yeah, 479-ish. Yeah.
479. So that's
a nice specific number. Yeah.
There's nearly 500 players above you at 26 on our server that all need G3 mats for all of their ships. So if we have 500 players sending out 3 ships at a time or 2 ships at a time to mine 3-star mats, there's not enough nodes. And so, we get these miner wars and things like that. And I heard you talk a little bit about that on your first podcast. And, for us as admirals on our server and other leaders in the server, our biggest concern as a community is that players are going to leave the game and the server is going to die. And none of us want that, because we want to be able to continue to play because the game is fun. And so we're always looking for ways we can try to make the game more playable for everyone. And while that's great that we're coming together as a community to do that, it would be nice to see more of that come from the developers.
To your
see
point,
more things.
And just to your point real quick, talking about how many players above me there are, I just used the HiveMind bot, shout out to HiveMind, just to calculate how many G3 ore systems there are. There's 16. So an average of 5 nodes per, and that's a low amount, but there are some systems out there that have only got like 3 or 4 nodes in them. That's only 80 to 100 nodes for 500 players to use G3, and that's just the people stronger than me. I mean, there's plenty of people level 20 plus, probably another good 1,000 easily, who also need the same stuff. So now you have literally maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people fighting over 80 spots for one resource. That's obviously not enough.
Yeah, and the supply and demand becomes an issue. And so then the demand is, well, I'm a 31 with a 400k miner, so I'm going to kick off all of your miners and your warships, and you're not going to do anything about it. Like, that's just the way it's going to be, because we all want to get our dailies done. And while I generally try to play nicer than that, it's just the fact of the matter is we all have dailies we need to get done. And so while we try to create community policies and rules of engagement or accords or naps or whatever you want to call them. I've had to learn a lot of gaming terminology since playing this game because I wasn't really a gamer before.
This game prepares us for politics, I'll tell you that.
So, I heard you call out our Admirals Discord, and that was created so that we could try to bring some order to the chaos. Mm-hmm. And while we're doing the best we can, and we all care about the game. The community in this game does care about the success of this game because it's fun. We all want to play it. But at the same time, it's left to a lot of keyboard warriors to try to solve things, and that's not always going to be a recipe for long-term success.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And the more I progress, I mean, obviously I love to play the pirate thing, and it's a lot of fun to do the PvP. But, at the end of the day, all of us, every single one of us ends up having to mine, ends up having to work with each other in some way or another. We just do. I mean, there's what? We can name maybe 3 or 4 people on our server who consistently only PvP to get their stuff done. And even those players have to spend money on top of what they're doing to be able to continue that lifestyle. And if people want to play like that, I'm personally not going to gripe about it. Whatever. I don't care.
No.
Enjoy the game however you enjoy it. But that's just not something that's feasible for everybody to do. At the end of the day, I'm going to have to mine for Tritanium at some point, even if that means I'm only getting 100,000 a day. I'm going to have to mine 20,000 plus G3 to get my dailies done, to get those faction points I need to upgrade one officer. I mean, that's just part of the game. And it kind of goes back to my main point really here is whether you're level 31 like yourself who spent, a good bit of money to get there, or you're like me in the mid-20s, or you're a low level, level 19, 18, 16, whatever. Across the board, the economy needs some major adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that all of us agree on. All of us who play the game kind of agree on is that it'd be nice to have some different economics in the game.
Yeah. So, well, we've gone a little bit here. One thing, this is kind of going, it's probably going to be my favorite part of the podcast. So, I shared a story on the last one. And for you, because I know you've had moments, you've always been playing a little bit longer than me, but the nature of being a high level is you get to enjoy all the drama. I'll tell you this, the top five alliances of probably every server are nothing but drama magnets. Sometimes it's fun and hilarious. Sometimes it's just terrible and it makes you want to quit the game. For you, what's just a good story of you enjoying the game? What's one of the reasons you've stuck around? Because I do think more so than some games, maybe not as much as other, but more so than some games, there's been bugs and just problems with the game that would drive a lot of people away. What's a good thing about the game that's kept you around and you've enjoyed?
I would say it's the interaction with my fellow players. We've
community.
we've been able to have a lot of fun doing our own things in the game, having obviously there's drama. There's a whole alliance right now out there that's tasked with bringing me personally down, so that's fun.
Get ransomed.
Get ransomed. Hashtag ransomed. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot of it's a lot of fun experimenting. And I remember in the early days of the game, we had a player on the server named Slather, and he was an early advanced. He advanced really early, really fast, and he was the first one on the server with a Horizon. And we called it the Slather Monster because it was this 200K survey ship that would wreck our bases, because none of our bases were anywhere close to being prepared to deal with that mess. And he was able to just bring law and order to an entire system just by showing up. It was
in
amazing.
A Horizon.
Because all of us were rocking our Kumaris at like 50K at the time, or Talas, and he's rocking a Horizon. And he's kind of gone silent recently, but man, early on in the game, that was one of my funniest memories. Is one of my friends got raided one shot by that, just all their ships, their base completely one shot by his Horizon, and all of us were like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?
I'll tell you, man, that is something I literally live in fear about. I mean, because it's fun. Like, I get a good chuckle when somebody like you, because you've done this to me, Behringer's done it to me, Knifey's done it. Come by and one shot my base. Here's Deuce. He's getting a little bit big for his britches. Let's go teach him who's boss. It's funny, but I fear the day somebody rolls around in like an Antares and manages to steal the 1 million Tritanium I'm holding on to so dearly because it's so hard to get more of it. I mean, I've luckily only been one shot by faction ships that aren't miners, but I know the day is coming where I'm going to finally slip up on my shield, or I'm going to have all three of my ships out and break my rule, because my rule is I always have at least one ship home, always.
Good rule. Solid rule.
I'm going to break my rule one day, though. There's going to be some amazing event going on. I've just got to participate. And then here's going to come somebody. It's going to be Knifey, or it's going to be Stinky Finger from First or something. And then bam, 1 million is going to be gone like that. I'm just going to be crying in general chat, wondering where it went.
It is fun to do that to somebody's face, and I kind of feel a little remorse, but not a lot. It's a game.
It's hard to feel remorse when you're trucking home 1 million Tritanium in one go.
Well, and it's all pixels. Remember, I think that's the thing that we could all stand to remember about the game is it's just pixels. Right?
Even if you paid more for those pixels than I did.
Yeah, even if I paid more for the same pixels, they're still just pixels. And as long as we're all having fun, then we keep it in that perspective. I think we'll all be able to get along and have fun. And hopefully Scopely will continue to invest in the game and continue to invest in us, and continue to make the improvements that I think a lot of us think they need, and we'll have a good long game.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on with it, man. I just think it was a good perspective for people out there to get to know that, even the people who are helping Scopely make hand over fist, the crazy, like the 14 million in April or whatever it was, to know that you as well have got frustrations and that you're pushing for things to get better. And the same way that I am, and the same way that the level 16 or 17 is. And, it's only through that, us all working together, that is going to get the change. Because I think at the end of all this, and to your point that you just said, the community in this game is really what makes this game so much fun. And at the end of the day, though, if the game doesn't get better, even if the community is great, we're going to leave. And we've already had some
Absolutely.
friends leave. But if the game continues to improve, new people continue to come in like we had. I mean, what was it, 3 weeks ago, our server opened up and like a bunch of, like 800 new pigs came in that were waiting to get to slaughter level.
Where do I find level 3 ships? How do I relocate my base? All the questions popped up again.
My favorite one is, your system is open, your server's open when you get the free Latinum spam bots coming in. But
what a joke that is.
Yeah, I know. 1,000 Latinum. You think that's a lot at like level 3? It ain't crap. That ain't going. It costs me like 400 Latinum to insta repair my ship now. It's two ship repairs. But
I don't do instant repairs anymore.
Yeah, it's all about the game.
Expensive.
Spend it on speed ups, by the way, guys. Do not do instant ship repair. The rates are completely off. Buy speed ups. Don't do ship repair. There's another tip for the day. But in the end, like I said, the community is what makes the game. And as long as the game gets better, the community will continue to grow and get better. And I think that's what we all want universally. Nobody out there is going to say we want a toxic community. So continue to push for the game to get better. Ranson, thanks for joining me, man. Awesome to have you with me. And thanks for helping me out on the solo event here while we waited for the rewards to get better. So been great.
You're welcome, bud. Thank you.
We'll see you guys and gals on the 3rd episode. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's going to come out of the Observation Lounge as we get ready to make Star Trek Fleet Command the best app game on the store. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out, live long, and prosper. An even better outro than the intro. Yeah!